An honest conversation with your body.
Hi, and welcome to my show, ENLIFEMENT. My name is Dr. Honeycutt. Thank you for joining me. I have Miss Donna Reed tonight. What can I say? She is awesome. She's a motivator, but I'm going to let her tell you who she is. I don't want to mess it up.
Oh, you couldn't mess it up.
You wear a lot of hats.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So you let them know. You let them know.
Okay, so tonight the hat that we're wearing, so we're excited about this, and I'm excited to be here. You are so special. So tonight the hat we're going to wear is motivational speaker,
Yes.
business coach, and strategist for start up, start over, or start growing your business. And so I work with a lot of women who are starting up businesses or have vision, have ideas, have thoughts, and many of them are not sure how to take it to the next level. So that's where I come in. And it's the same thing with ministries. So whatever it is that they're working on, whatever it is they're doing, whatever dreams and ideas, I believe in following your dreams.
Okay.
So I coach them to that level.
So we had to have a story to get you to where you are. So let's hear about
Yes.
the story that got you where you are now.
Okay. Oh, I love telling the story only because we all have a story.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, I believe in people telling their stories. And sometimes we're afraid or ashamed to tell our stories. But I say your story will give God glory. And so if he allowed us to go through it, he allowed us to experience it, it's for somebody else to hear it so that they can get where it is they're going. So that's where it all started for me. So just to share a little bit on how I got to where I am today is, and at 18 years old, that ripe old age of 18 years old, I thought I was grown. You know how we are. I thought I was grown. And so I left home. And so my parents thought I was going to go around the corner and just, and be back in a few days when I realized, what life had to offer. And instead, I moved 1,000 miles away from Hartford, Connecticut to Beaufort, South Carolina. And so when I called home to tell my parents that I had made it safely and all of that, my mother was really upset with me, really upset. And so I stood there and she was like, "You think you're so grown? You go ahead and figure out life for yourself." And many here have heard that story because I was raised in foster care. I had the greatest parents, but it was my first time actually understanding what it was like to be a child aged out of foster care. Okay. Even though that wasn't, my upbringing, when I did get to that age, it's like I understood how they felt. And so my parents were mad for like maybe hours, but it was the defining moment for me. So the one thing I had on my mind when I hung up that phone was I had to be successful, because that's what I was taught. That's what I was raised. My mother always told me, "Donna, you could do anything you set your mind to." I mean, anything. And I believed it because it was always told to me. It was always reinforced. And so I believed it. And so I remember telling my mother as a little girl I was going to build my own furniture one day. I didn't know where that came from or anything like that. But what happened was at 18 years old, I met somebody who said, "I'll cherish you for the rest of your life." And I repeated the same thing to him. And he didn't know anything about being a husband. I didn't know anything about being a wife. And it was an abusive relationship. But at 19, I got pregnant. First baby at 20, second at 22, third at 23. 23, I was a single parent. He didn't know, again, how to be a husband. I didn't really know how to be a wife. But I was better than what I was getting, which was the abuse. And so with that, I ended up leaving him and ended up in a place I never thought I'd see myself, which was on welfare. But I had one thing still in my mind, success. I knew I could be successful. So I ended up doing crafts and handcrafting and that kind of thing. And I would do craft shows on weekends while my girls were underneath the table. I had all daughters. They were underneath the table, and I was conducting business on top of the table. And I believed in doing one thing, everything in excellence. And so I learned business. I went back to school. I got my degree in business. And I just began, to run the business. So, but then I ended up going and getting a job, which only made sense because, again, there was only so much the crafts could take me. But my degree could take me somewhere. So I got a job as a telemanager. And then from telemanager, I ended up being a receptionist. And people say, now, how did you go from a telemanager to a receptionist? Well, I'll tell you why. It was money.
Yes.
Because as a teller manager, they were like, oh, Donna, you're doing such a good job. And I wanted to be across the room as the branch manager, but they thought, oh, you're doing such a good job. And I thought, yeah, I might be doing a great job, but the money's not there. So I had an opportunity to go into this really great company, but the foot in the door was the receptionist.
Okay.
And I thought, now, this is crazy. Who in the world? But when I saw the money, it was paying more than the telemanager.
Okay.
So I went in, and the reason why I bring this part up is because as I sat at that desk, everybody that came by stopped and would share their problems and issues with me. Everybody. So instead of just asking where do I go from here, there, or answering phones, it seemed like everybody had a problem. And I would do whatever I could and share whatever I could. And so from there was a lady who came out one day and she was angry and she said, I'm quitting my job. And I said, hold on. Before you quit that job, can you teach me everything that you're doing? And so she said, are you serious? And I said, no, I'm very serious. I said, I'll do all your work. So she said, okay, because I'm going to be leaving like in 8 weeks. I said, bring all your work to me. Teach me what you do. She did that. And in 8 weeks when she left, I was qualified for her position.
Okay.
So I got her job, and it was a coordinator of marketing.
Okay.
So being a coordinator of marketing, I learned everything with marketing. So now if you look at the trail, I first had done all these handcrafts, so I knew how to do business. I've got my degree in business. I now work at a bank, so I've learned all of that. Now I've sat out and really counseled people literally who had come by, and I knew what that receptionist did, and I knew all the departments and the calls and all of that. Now I'm in marketing. And so I learned everything in marketing. And from that marketing department is when I stepped out on faith and went full time into my craft business. And so I designed this item called a baby cake. Okay. And it was a diaper, spoon and fork, comb brush, socks, teeth ring, key ring, rattle, and a bib. And you might see them, they have the cellophane paper with the bow and all of that. But see, I designed a package where I could ship them all across the country. And so I began to do that, and I began to make magnets. Now, I know people probably think magnets, but magnets literally paid my mortgage for a few years, just handcrafting magnets, anything you could think of. But then from that point, God had given me this vision for my daughters of these two little stick figures. And I have a bag with me, if you don't mind, I'll show it to you.
Absolutely.
So, as these two little stick figures were on the front of a tote bag.
Okay.
And I said to my girls, I said, girls, I seen this little figures. And, just like teenagers, they were like, yeah. So I made them do 30 bags. It was a canvas bag. This is a lunch bag, but it was a canvas bag. I made them do 30 of the bags for an event that was coming to Charlotte. They did the bags. They named them tea bags because all four of their names begin with T, and they started with bags. They called them tea bags. So a lot of people even call me Miss Tea Bags to this day. And so they called them tea bags, and we began to sell it, and the company took off. The girls were on the cover of Young Entrepreneur magazine. When they were teenagers, they were in Black Enterprise, and so it really took off. But the key is I coached them through every drop of their success. And where did I get the experience from? Were the jobs that I had and the things that I did. But then we started an organization called T-Bags, Teach Boys and Girls Success. So we began to teach young people how to develop their skill and talent to a level of success with an entrepreneurial emphasis. So it was really like a family concept. And we thought if this can happen with us, this can happen with anybody. And I would watch women who may be single parents or that type of thing, and maybe Some of them would feel like, this is too tough, too rough. And I'd say, no, it's not. You're just steps away from success. And so it's like, what is it that you like to do? What do your kids like to do? What skills and talents do you have? Let's develop those. So I began to coach women in what it is, they were doing. I started an organization called WISE, Women Inspiring Sisters Everywhere, so that we could inspire one another and we could encourage each other and keep each other going. And so from that point, it really, the rest is history. I began to do that. I was called into ministry. I began to minister. I pastored for the last 5.5 years. Actually 5.5 years, but the last year and a half, I was, I call myself retired, even though, am I that old? Yeah, I might be that old. I'm around about that age. But I came from pulpit back to the pew, and I did that to coach pastors. So now one of the things with the business is also coaching pastors and growing their churches.
Okay.
Because I was able to see what it takes to bring young people in, what it takes to engage people, families, and that kind of thing. And with our church, we outgrew our facility. And when we did that, we were getting ready to look for another location. And God showed me one of my really good friends who we did a lot of things together, Pastor Neil Atkinson. And he said to me, why are the two of you all looking for two different locations when you have a very similar vision? And I said, wow, you're right. And so him and I talked about it. We merged churches. And then when I got in there and just began to do the things that God called me to do as far as growing the church, and then God said, I have so much more for you to do. So I looked at him, and he's a phenomenal pastor. If you're ever looking for a church in Charlotte, it's the Heights Ministries. And he said, and I looked at him and I said, it's time for me to go. And so I left from there and stepped back out, and now I'm doing churchonthegrow.org. But mostly my passion is that coaching, that entrepreneurship, that type of thing.
That's what I was going to ask you about, the entrepreneurship spirit. I mean, this is something that you have to have somewhat in there, right?
Oh yes.
Because I know I've been a hustler for since I can remember, and I'm still getting it. I'm doing multiple things, but that's what. How do you bring it out of them?
Okay.
It's in there. If
it's in there.
It's in everybody.
It's in everybody,
Okay.
and that's the thing. And I think, and I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's key. Is bringing it out of them, and then them having the confidence that they can do it. Them having the balance in their life to do it. But it's that confidence, and then a lot of women that I coached and that I've seen, we don't understand our value, how valuable we are. So one of the things that that I really make sure they understand is their value. So you ask, how do you bring it out of them? First of all, it's what are you passionate about? What is it that you love to do? What legacy do you want to leave? What are you emotionally tied to? Because if you find somebody who is working on a cause or they're doing something, it's because something took place to put them in that place for them to move forward. And so when they discover what that is, now it's how do you monetize it? Because literally, I don't care what it is you're doing, God has given us the ability to create wealth. And if He does that, that means it's in you to create it. The ability is there. So now it's how do you take it to the next level? And that's where coaching comes in. And that's where I have been able to find myself in such a unique position to see people's vision and then to see them experience it through taking those steps. So it really takes somebody believing in themselves and somebody else believing in them. Because, I started out with working with teens. And I still do. I still work with teens, especially those aging out of foster care. That's one of my passions. But when I look at women who, they know it, they'll say, oh, I wish I could. So we take the wish you could to make it happen. If only I could. Oh, you absolutely can. And then you just begin to share them and the strategies, for them to take that to the next level. And then they go for it.
And so, I always lived my life saying, you can always wonder what if.
Yes.
What if I had, but I don't do that.
Yes.
I just go for it. And with my mom, I told her, I was like, Mom, I'm going to go back to school. She never said, you need to do this, this, this.
Right.
She let me find my way, but I was like, I would always come to her, well, I'm thinking about going back to school to do this.
Yes.
And the first thing she'd say is, go for it.
Yes.
And then, well, I'm going back to school again.
Yes.
Go for it. And she would keep my
Yes.
children while I go to school. She would keep my children like they were her own. Mom, I woke up one morning, I'm going to school to be a doctor.
Amen.
She was like, go
Amen.
for it.
Make it
So
happen.
she didn't just say, you need to do this. But when I went to her to say, I'm going to do this, she had my back. And she let me know
Yes.
she had my back.
And you used the word earlier. I want to expand on. You used the word hustle.
Yes.
Because what's so interesting is when I, first started out, people used to say, "Girl, you sure know how to hustle. Girl, you sure know how to hustle." But I didn't look at it as, no, I know how to work a business.
Yeah.
I know how to make a business happen. I looked at it just like that. So it's what words we attach to it. Then the word entrepreneur wasn't really being used when I first started. It was small business, or they have a small business. And then I realized one day I'm speaking over my business. The more I say small business, the smaller it's going to stay. And so we take the word small business and stop that and just say entrepreneur. But then when you say entrepreneur, people still think you're like one person, right? And so we start as entrepreneurs, and then we create an enterprise.
Right.
And that's right, and make it happen. Make it happen. I believe it. And so I say this to when I do workshops and coaching, and I always start out by saying this. The one thing about entrepreneurship and one thing about running your business or making it happen is it is a leap of faith. It is a leap of faith because every day we don't know where the next client, where the next customer, where the next check is going to come from.
Right.
But if we believe it and we keep moving forward, we take that leap, and this is how I spell leap. The legacy, if we are leaving a legacy, if it's an emotional tie, if some kind of way we're emotionally tied to it. I was emotionally tied because I had some kids that wanted to eat. When I was when I would do business and they were under the table, you know what people used to come up to me? Because the items I made, I knew were in excellence. People used to say, well, tell me, who makes these? Who are you working for? So it didn't matter to me which way that dollar was coming back and what you thought about it. So I would say, Feed the Reed Foundation. Because they're right under this table and they want to eat. So they thought it was, and that money would come across that table, but they would get excellent items.
Yeah.
So I was emotionally tied. And then there's that achievement. You have got to achieve this. It is so in you. Because when God gives you a vision, when he gives you a desire, it doesn't go away. He expects you to accomplish it. That's why he says, write the vision and make it plain. What he's saying is make a business plan and make it happen.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Yes, that's so important.
Write those goals down.
Write it down.
And then it's your passion. What are you passionate about? And so the legacy, the emotions, the achievement, the passion, it all equals your purpose. And it all spells leap. It's taking that leap of faith. It's what will get you out of bed when you don't know where the check is coming from. But the one thing I tell people about business, or I share with my clients right up front, don't run after money. Because when you are doing what you've been called to do, money will run after you, without a doubt. There's no question about that. Because you become in demand. Because you are solving a problem. Every business solves a problem. And when you are solving the problem and you're doing it in excellence, then people are going to pay for the solution. They're going to pay for the solution to the problem, without a doubt. If I need to clean my windows, I don't go buy Mop and Glow. I go buy Windex.
Okay.
And I'm not buying an off-brand. I'm buying Windex because it's made a name for itself. And I know it's going to clean my windows. If I buy anything else, I'm going to have streaks and I won't be able to see clearly. So you buy what you need and you make it happen. There's no question. So when it comes to coaching, I know a lot of people don't understand coaching. But coaching is so key to success. Because that coach is going to guide you through it, walk you through it. They're going to see things in you. They're going to pull those things out. And they're going to make sure that you are on the path to success. Be your biggest cheerleader and make sure that it happens. Because if you're successful, I'm successful.
Right.
Because what are you going to say? Let me tell you who my coach is.
Oh, yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Let me tell you who my coach is. And so your success equals my success. And I'm going to say this on camera, and I want everybody to hear this. When you see it from now, if you see it 10 years from now, pay your coach. Pay a coach. Because a coach will put you in position to pay them. A good coach is going to put you in position to pay them, because what they're doing, or a business coach, is helping you monetize what your business is, what your vision is, what your ideas are, what your thoughts are. And again, if God gave us the ability to do it, He's gonna make sure we profit through it.
Won't He do it?
Won't He do it?
Okay, so we have just a few more minutes. But I wanted you to talk about your book just for a little bit before.
Okay, so all right, life is a puzzle until you find the missing pieces, which I tell my story of the many things that that have the obstacles.
Yes.
But what I really want to share is this before we close out. I had said about the teens and those that we work with. And my book starts out as a teenager, but it shows the success and the journey, and the things that I've overcome, which have been, just to name a few, alcoholism. Was alcoholic for 20 years. Wow. 20 years, functioning alcoholic. You wouldn't have known it, but I knew it. And when I went to put that bottle down and realized it had more control over me than I had over it, I knew I had a problem. But to the glory of God, it was Him who delivered me from cigarettes and alcohol in the very day I sincerely asked Him to take it. So that's one of the things. It's overcoming obstacles. But what I really want to share before we close out is all of these young people that are out here, these teens that are aging out of foster care, these teens that can't seem to find their way because they don't have that guidance and that type of thing. Even though what I coach is women, my passion are those teens. We have an organization called Home for Me, and it's taken the concerns of homelessness from teens that are aging out of foster care and giving them safe options to live. And the HOME stands for Hope, Opportunities, Mentoring, and Education. And so I really want people, when they go to my website, because I want all of you all to go to my website, donnaleereed.com. I want you to click on that link for that and really be there for a team or share with me on how. Because the other thing about being an entrepreneur, I really believe God frees us up so that whatever cause and passion He puts on our heart, we're in position to do it. So I wanted to share that.
And thank you. And on that note, we're going to leave it right there.
All right.
We want to have you back.
Please. I love it.
So go ahead and give your your website one more time.
Okay.
And we're going to close it out.
DonnaLeeReed.com, and that's LeeReed. And thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you. And we want to thank you all for joining us. Join us right here every Wednesday on the Wake Up Call Network. And my show is ENLIFEMENT. Thank you.
God bless you.